genuinely think that Pokemon Conquest is one of the best Pokemon games ever made. And like the craziest thing is, I don't hear fans talking about it as much. Like yes, Scarlet and Violet is fun, Heart Gold and Soul Silver were iconic, and Black and White are my favorite mainline games. But Pokemon Conquest, my god, this game really has a special place in my heart. And to be real, I'm waiting for a sequel, man. Nintendo, please, I need this. What's going on, Nexians? And to those of you who are new, welcome on in. Today, we're continuing the Sunday suggestion. This series in where I recommend something that's been living in my head rent-free. Whether it's anime, manga, games, comic books, movies, anything nerdy that I think needs some love, we'll talk about it here. And today, we're gonna talk about a game that genuinely got robbed, man. Pokemon Conquest. A tactical RPG that combined feudal Japan and Pokemon. And they literally created one of, if not the best spin-off game of the franchise. If you've never heard of it, it's like, that's literally why I wanted to make this video, because you've never heard of it. Now, before we can talk about the legendary game of Pokemon Conquest, we gotta talk about the unfortunate timing of Pokemon Conquest's release. So, those of you who don't care about dates and specifics and stuff like that, I'll put a timestamp on the screen so you could just skip ahead. Alright, those of you who are still here, I'm going to assume you care. So let's continue. So, Pokemon Conquest released on March 17th, 2012 and June 18th, 2012 for Japan and the Americas. And then for Oceania and the UK, it was June 21st and July 27th respectively. So why does this matter? My real Pokemon fans know exactly why. Pokemon Black and White released September 18th, 2010, March 6th, 2011, and March 4th, 2011 for Japan, the Americas, and EU, again, respectively. This was then immediately followed by Pokemon Black and White 2 on June 23rd, October 7th, 11th, and 12th in 2012 for Japan, Americas, Oceania, and EU, respectively. Not to mention that the 3DS was released on February 26th, 2011, March 27th for Japan and the Americas, and then March 25th and 31st for EU and Oceania. So literally smashed between two mainline games and a new console release, right? Unova, despite being received pretty poorly at first, has shaped up to be one of the most influential games ever, and my personal favorite mainline game. In line with me for Oras and Sinnoh, right behind. And then the Kalos games comes out on October 12th, 2013. So my baby, Pokemon Conquest, was smashed in between some legendary games, and some of the most controversial games coming out on new hardware, of course. It never stood a chance, man. A spin-off game on aging hardware while three mainline games stood around you. That's literally like being a rising star performing between Michael Jackson and Prince. Literally, nobody's gonna remember you. Deep down, that's why I believed it missed its time in the sun. Because while everyone was playing Unova and preparing for Kalos, Pokemon Conquest was doing its own thing, taking Pokemon and combining it with Koei Tecmo's Nobunaga's Ambition series to create something truly special, a tactical RPG for Pokemon, and it genuinely worked. Now, enough history. What exactly is Pokemon Conquest? This beautiful game takes place in the Ranxi region, a land divided into multiple kingdoms, each themed around a Pokemon type. So, at this point, there are 17 Pokemon types. This is before Kalos, so it's before Fairy, therefore making it 17 kingdoms. Now, instead of Pokemon trainers, this region has warlords and their soldiers, which are warriors, who forms bond with Pokemon who wage war, defend their kingdom, and pursue their own unique ambitions, as it were. The story begins with a young warrior who dreams of uniting the Ranxi region, and after a chance encounter with Arceus, literally God by the way, you are given the task of doing something nobody else could do. Conquer Ranxi and unite it into one kingdom. Now, I know what you're thinking. Conquer? Conquest? Sounds pretty sinister, right? And like, you're not wrong. Instead of collecting gym badges and challenging the Elite Four, you're invading other nations, conquering them, and recruiting warriors. But like, it's still Pokemon. and it's a unique spin. And even more so, every kingdom has its own aesthetic and warlord that rules over it, with their unique personality and specialty, which, to be honest, makes the region feel alive in a way that's so much different than the main games. But the real star of this game is Nobunaga. Yes, that Oda Nobunaga. And like, just a little aside here, I literally could not pronounce Nobunaga's name as a child, and like, to some of you I still might be pronouncing it wrong, but like, holy cow, like, I was thinking about how I pronounced his name as a kid, and it's so embarrassing. Pokemon Conquest is heavily inspired by Koei Tecmo's Nobunaga's Ambition series, meaning many of the characters are actually based on historical Japanese figures. There's the main villain Nobunaga, based off of Oda Nobunaga. Then you have warlords like Mitsuhide, based off of Akeiichi Mitsuhide, and Ieyasu, based off of Tokugawa Ieyasu. And you understand, most of the main warlords are based off of real people. And again, sorry if I butchered any of those names. Seeing legendary historical figures wield Pokemon was such a cool idea Pokemon had ever had. And genuinely, I was sad that Nintendo never revisited this. Like, they really cooked up a really tough idea and just forgot all about it. Now all of that sounds cool, and it is cool, but let's be real, if the game was buns, nobody would care. However, Pokemon Conquest absolutely delivers in gameplay. Unlike the mainline Pokemon games, battles take place on battlefields. Conquest uses a tactical grid system, much like Fire Emblem. Positioning and terrain matters as well as movement. You're not just asking if your Pokemon is stronger than your opponent, you're asking if you're standing in the right spot to even attack to begin with. Each Pokemon has a single move, which at first sounds limiting until you realize every move has a different range, AoE, and purpose. Some Pokemon excel at controlling space, while others are all about dealing damage and or supporting allies. Most battles are more about strategy and less about just brute forcing your way through. Although training and grinding is useful, you don't have to do it. I did because I'm weird and I love the game, but you don't have to. Then we get to my favorite mechanic, delegation. And yeah, I know it's a weird thing for it to be my favorite mechanic, but I'm weird, so bear with me. Being that you're a warlord, you run multiple kingdoms. And running multiple kingdoms means you have warriors, warlords, and income and economy. So what Pokemon Conquest allows you to do is delegate tasks. If you're worrying about the enemy invading your kingdom, you can delegate your warriors and warlords to train and get stronger. And they do get stronger. If you want your soldiers to find more allies, you can have them search for more warriors and more Pokemon. And I did mention income and economy. If you want your income and economy to go up, you can delegate that. And what this does, it just adds more in-game currency to your in-game wallet, right? It allows you to buy things such as potions, evil stones, and stat boosting items, which are useful in game, don't get me wrong. But like, if you don't use them, you won't like die. I mean, you might, but you won't miss out on a lot. Now, those of you who know me know I love nation building games, so delegating literally became something I loved to do. What I would do literally is I would select a kingdom, do battles in that kingdom like training spots, and then still have them train so it's like a double strength boost. Right, like it's silly, I know, but like you aren't invading my kingdoms when I'm not there. Now, I mentioned battle mechanics, right? You might be asking, are you stuck to one Pokemon? Per battle, yes, but per character, no. Each character has a different amount that they can own, between 2 and 6, but you could also, again, link with other Pokemon. It's this game's version of catching. Each warrior and warlord has a type they prefer, and if you notice, there are 4 little status icons, as it were, above each Pokemon's head per warrior. If it was an X, that means no. If it was a bronze, it means they were at the bottom level. Silver, they were like mid, and gold meant they were a perfect link. And again, these are the link potentials with each Pokemon. Each warrior has a perfect link, that little gold symbol I talked about, with a certain Pokemon. So, for example, the MC's perfect link is Eevee in all of the evolutions. The Deuteragonist, Oichi's perfect link is Jigglypuff and eventually Wigglytuff. perfect links allow Pokemon's strength to go higher. The higher the link, the stronger the Pokemon. So essentially, if your warrior, for example, links with a silver Pokemon, for example, their link would be stuck at something, I think it was like 80%. But if you had a perfect link, that gold icon, your link could go up to 100%. They're like limiters, and the higher limiter you would have, like the higher your stats could go. It's pretty cut and dry. Now, each kingdom is also visually and mechanically unique, keeping each battle fun and genuinely different from the last one. One minute you're fighting in what seems like an active volcano that has literal molten rocks fall on your head, and the next you're on a battlefield in which electricity runs through the battlefield, zapping areas at the click of a button. My favorite kingdom is Fontaine, and it's likely the theme that's playing in the background right now. And aside from Motochika being my favorite warlord, I just love the theme and how it looks. Again, sorry if I butchered that name. And honestly, this is what I love about Pokemon Conquest. It takes a franchise known for turn-based battles and turns it into strategic battles of positioning, planning, and kingdom management. Honestly, back to Fontaine, like, the kingdom is just so visually stunning even on like the Nintendo DS's graphics, and I'd argue if it was remastered on the Switch or the Switch 2, it would look even more insane. Pokemon Conquest doesn't just feel like a Pokemon game with strategy elements. It feels like a strategy game that just happens to have Pokemon in it. Now, I love Pokemon Conquest, and genuinely I play it every few months. I love this game so much, its replayability is insane. Aside from that, you could literally play with any of the evolutions, right? You could also recruit different warriors, have those warriors use different Pokemon, use only perfect links, use only bad links, no items, single stage Pokemon playthroughs. Like, you can literally do it all. Pokemon's known for its replayability, and this game is no different. And it gets even better. After you beat the game, there is post-game content. You can play as each warlord and then junior warlords, essentially like the warlord's second in command, like the Zoro to the Luffy, as it were. In which case, you learn more about each character and more personalities to shine through, and it does something that Pokemon mainlines don't do. It allows you to see stories through other characters' eyes. Speaking of other characters, let's talk about a few of my favorite characters. First, we have Motochika. As I mentioned earlier, his design is so peak. In his base form, the hair color combo plus the fur scarf thing, bro, it's so tough. Then, when he ranks up as a warlord, oh yeah, you can level up your warlords, by the way. But when he levels up as a warlord, he gets like Samurai's little blades alongside his armor, plus his fit levels up in aura, like, bro, he's too cool. Then we have Hanbei. Bro, this dude doesn't look that cool, but he makes up for it in his personality. He's a genius, but dude, is he a bum. He just wants to laze around all day, and like, honestly, he's so me. Like, yes, we're capable, but like, I'll do it tomorrow. And for time's sake, I'll use one more character, Nene. At first, I genuinely hated her because her kingdom is a pain to deal with. But like, after playing a few times, playing her story and stories that involved her, she's actually a fairly wholesome character. She makes up like the ninja quartet of Nene, Hanzo, Kunoichi, and Kotaro, and I just love their interactions. It doesn't help that she also uses poison types, which are one of my favorite types, but the vibe of Conquest genuinely is just unmatched, you know? The music is some of the best in the Pokemon franchise. If you notice, I actually use a lot of Pokemon Conquest's themes in my videos. For Pyrokinesis, I use Ignis, the Fire Kingdom. In my Hydrokinesis, I use Fontaine, and so on. The battles are pretty fun as well, with all the potential moves you can make. It's just insane. The art style is in the Pokemon-esque style we all know and love, and again, the kingdoms are also visually unique and full of their own life. I love it. I'm clearly rambling about this game, right? Now, for those of you who like Pokemon and Fire Emblem, genuinely, if you haven't, you should give this game a try. It's a perfect blend between the two. It's not terribly long, you could just blitz through the main story, but like, if you genuinely immerse into the game and train and do side quests and side stories and stuff like that, you could be playing the game for a good amount of time, in my opinion. If you're looking for more competitive, fast-paced battles and much more of the Pokemon fashion, then you're not going to enjoy this game very much, and that's okay because it's the antithesis of that style entirely. Pokemon Conquest isn't my favorite Pokemon game because it's perfect. It's my favorite game because it dared to be unique, and that's why I think you guys should give it a try. If you guys enjoyed today's Sunday suggestion, leave a like and a sub. It would mean a lot. I mean, you literally sat here for like, I don't know, however long this is, like 15, 16 minutes, listening to me yap like a loser about Pokemon Conquest. But hey, we're all buds here, right? If you missed last week's suggestion, check it out. I talk about an adorable romantic comedy. You guys should really try it. And as always, stay conquering, stay having fun. And this is your captain, signing out.